The volume of a cylinder formula is very similar to the volume of a prism. It is also the area of the base times the height. But because a cylinder has circular bases, we know that the area of the base comes from the area of a circle formula, which is pi times the radius squared. So instead of writing the area of the base times the height, you could also say pi r squared times the height. So for our first example, we can see that 4 is the radius of the circle and 7 is the height of the cylinder because that is perpendicular to the base. So our formula for the volume would be area of the base, which is pi times the radius squared, or I guess I should go ahead and fill that in, pi times 4 squared times the height, which is 7. So 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 7 is 112. So the exact volume would be 112 cubic units. But if I wanted to approximate it, I could type it in the calculator, and 112 times pi is approximately 351.9 cubic units. So depending on what the instructions ask for, you can do either. On these, we'll go ahead and continue with finding the approximate. In the second example, the diameter of the circle is 10, which tells us that the radius would be 5. And then this 20 gives us the height because, again, this length here is perpendicular to the circular base. So if we were finding the volume, we would take pi times the radius, which is 5 squared, and multiply it by the height of 20. 5 squared is 25, times 20 is 500. So 500 pi would be the exact volume. And if we were to approximate that, that would be 1,570.8 cubic units. Here we would have a cylinder that is an oblique cylinder. It's kind of shifted. The top base is not directly over the bottom base. So this side right here is not actually the height of the cylinder. Instead, this over here is the height because this line segment right here is perpendicular to where the base is, the plane of the base. So let's figure out some different things that we need. First of all, we need the radius, and we can see that that is 6 units. The height is something that we can solve for using Pythagorean theorem. So the 25 here means that this over here is also 25, the hypotenuse of that particular right triangle. So we would know that 7 squared plus h squared should equal 25 squared. Oops, my pen kind of messed up there. So in solving for the height, if we take 25 squared and take away 7 squared, I would get that the height squared is 576, and therefore the height is 24 units. So this height right here is 24 units. So if r is 6 and h is 24, we can go ahead and fill in our volume formula. The area of the base is pi times the radius squared, so 6 squared, and then times our height of 24. 6 squared is 36. So we have to take 36 times 24, which is 864 pi. That would be the exact volume. And typing that in the calculator, we would get approximately 2,714.3 cubic units. Our final example looks like we don't have our radius here, but we do have this diagonal that goes kind of from this edge up here all the way down to this edge here. So hopefully you can see that this would make a right triangle if we were to take the diameter of the circle, so this whole length, the diameter, and then the height of the cylinder, 5, since this would be a right angle here, and then this would be the hypotenuse of that right triangle. So if we can solve for the diameter, we can then solve for the radius and therefore find the volume. So this is another Pythagorean theorem. We would be able to say that 5 squared plus the diameter squared equals 13 squared. So 25 plus the diameter squared equals 169. So the diameter squared would equal 144 if we take 25 away, and therefore the diameter is 12. So if the diameter is 12, then we know that the radius is 6. So the volume is the area of the base, so pi times the radius squared, so 6 squared, and times the height of the cylinder, which is 5 units, because this is the height being perpendicular to the base. So 36 times 5 times pi, which is 180 pi. That's our exact volume, which would be approximately 565.5 cubic units.